For 2,000 years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace, an alliance of the oldest, wisest races, governing the stars with cold, unshakable logic. They see a problem on their trade routes, a rebellion that needs to be crushed. They turn to the newcomers, the young, ambitious species with a history of war. Humanity. But what if the so-called rebels are just starving refugees? What if the Council's request is not an honor, but a test of loyalty for a role they never asked for? And when humanity uncovers a history of lies spanning centuries, what happens when they don't just refuse the order, but walk away in silence? The humans walked away in silence. The Council was left to pay the cost. Before the session begins, subscribe to the channel for more reports from the Galactic Frontier, and activate the like button to show your support. Alright, let's begin the story. The emergency session chime echoed through the grand chamber of the Aegis. It was a sound that hadn't been heard in over a standard century. Ambassador Kaylin Reyes straightened her simple, dark blue Earth uniform. She checked the microtranslator behind her ear one last time. 3 years she'd served as Earth's first voice to the Galactic Council. But this felt different. The chamber was a cathedral of power. 12 immense, curved seats rose in a circle, each one a unique environment tailored to its occupant. One was a swirling vortex of heated gas for the Soulkin delegate. Another, a deep pool of pressurized liquid for the abyssal swimmer of Cygnus X-1. The seat for the crystalline syndicate glittered with 1,000 internal lights, reflecting the slow, deliberate thoughts of its glass-like inhabitant. Kaylin took her place in the human section. It was the simplest of the 12. Just a chair. A small desk. Humans were still new here. Only 50 years since first contact. The others had been shaping the galaxy for eons. High Elder Forlag called the session to order. He was a Vorak, one of the Council's founding members. His scaled, purple skin seemed to absorb the light in the room. His 4 arms gestured with an ancient, practiced authority. His voice, filtered through Kaylin's translator, was deep and final, like mountains grinding together. Council members, Forlag announced, we face a crisis. Holographic star maps materialized in the center of the chamber. 3 systems flared in angry red. The Kepler mining sector, the tidy agricultural worlds, and the Proxima supply hub. 3 key systems are in open rebellion, the High Elder continued. Our trade routes are under attack by pirates. 18 member worlds are reporting critical supply shortages. They demand action. Kaylin studied the data streaming to her personal console. The numbers told a different story. The pirates were using converted cargo haulers and outdated mining barges. The rebellions, they seemed to be centered around refugee camps and displaced worker settlements. This didn't look like an organized military uprising. It looked like desperation. Resonance Prime, the delegate from the Crystalline Syndicate, spoke next. Its voice was a complex harmony of chimes. The disruptions have impacted trade across 17 systems. Our economic projections show a 4.2% loss in quarterly revenue if this is not contained. Other council members added their concerns. Supply shortages, increased security costs. The conversation was always about resources, about profit, about order. No one asked why. Kaylin raised her hand. Forlag gave a slow, condescending nod. She stood and walked to the speaker's podium in the center of the floor. The eyes of the galaxy were upon her. Honored council members, she began, her voice steady. Earth requests more information about these rebel groups. What are their stated demands? Have we made any attempt at direct negotiation? A low hum, which her translator labeled dismissive harmonics, rippled through the chamber. The Soulkin delegate, a being of living plasma, flared brightly. Ambassador Reyes, this is not a negotiation. These groups have rejected council authority. They attack our ships. They steal our property. This is lawlessness. Kaylin frowned. But what drove them to this point? Surely there were grievances that led to this. Forlag's lower set of arms moved in a gesture Kaylin had learned meant impatience. The causes are less important than the solution, young ambassador. Which brings you to the purpose of this session. The chamber's lights dimmed. A new holographic display appeared. It showed human military records. Kaylin's heart went cold. She saw footage of human soldiers in kinetic armor. Human strike fighters executing precision maneuvers. Human warships unleashing terrifying, elegant destruction. It was all from their past, their long, bloody history of fighting each other. The human species, Forlag said, his voice resonating with false praise, has demonstrated a remarkable effectiveness in conflict resolution. Your military doctrines are ruthlessly efficient. Your soldiers show a determination that many of our older species find difficult to match. Kaylin felt a chill crawl up her spine. She knew where this was going. Resonance Prime added its chiming voice. Humanity has been a valued member. Your agricultural innovations feed millions on worlds unfit for our own crops. Your medical breakthroughs save lives. But we believe your greatest contribution has yet to be made. All eyes turned to her. Beings of crystal and gas and flesh and light, all staring with an expression that felt like hunger. High Elder Forlag rose to his full, 3-meter height. Ambassador Reyes, the Galactic Council formally requests that humanity take responsibility for pacifying these 3 systems. He paused. Use your methods to restore order. We will provide all necessary resources. Her mouth went dry. They weren't asking for help. They were giving an order. They wanted humanity to be their enforcers. Their attack dogs. What, exactly, are you asking us to do? She asked, each word carefully chosen. The Soulkin delegate pulsed. Eliminate the threat. Use whatever force is necessary. And if we refuse? The chamber became utterly silent. Forlag's scaled face displayed a diplomatic smile that did not reach his cold, reptilian eyes. It looked like a threat. Humanity benefits greatly from council membership, he said slowly. Trade agreements worth trillions of credits. Technology that has advanced your species by centuries. Defense pacts that protect your colonies. These relationships require mutual cooperation. Kaylin understood. Do what we say, or we'll take it all away. I must consult with Earth Command, she said, her voice betraying none of the fury in her heart. This is not a decision I can make alone. Of course, Forlag replied smoothly. You have 72 standard hours. Enough time, I trust, for Earth to see the wisdom of accepting this opportunity. In the Earth Command security bunker, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Jax Thorne stared at the holographic reports. Kaylin's message had arrived 6 hours ago. He'd spent every minute since digging into the Council's data. The data they didn't want anyone to see. This stinks, growled General Eva Rostova, head of Earth's defense forces. They want us to attack refugee camps. Dr. Eris Thorne, Earth's foremost xenopolitical analyst, nodded grimly. His name was a heavy one, a reminder of the price of dealing with alien empires. The data is clear. These are not organized rebels. The Kepler system is filled with 1.2 million workers who lost their homes when their planet was strip-mined by the Crystalline Syndicate. He pulled up another file. The tidy worlds are housing families displaced by Vorak industrial expansion. Proxima, it's a refugee processing center that ran out of food. Admiral Thorne brought up another display. And the pirates? Most of their ships are converted cargo haulers. 93% of them are unarmed. They're stealing medical supplies and food shipments. They're starving. The room fell silent. The council wasn't asking them to restore order. They were asking them to clean up a mess. Their mess. 3 months ago, Rostova added, her voice tight with anger. The council cut off all humanitarian aid to these systems. They called it reducing dependency. Have we confirmed this? The admiral asked. I cross-referenced it with Dr. Kim's work at the Xenopolitics Institute, Eris said. The pattern is consistent. For 500 years, council economic projects displace a population. Those people become refugees. The council ignores their grievances. The refugees become desperate. The desperation turns to protest, then to action. The council then labels them a security threat and calls in an enforcer. Jax Thorne turned to his intelligence chief. What's our assessment of the sea? Council's own enforcement capabilities? Minimal, Colonel Chun replied instantly. They haven't fought a real war in over 400 years. Their member species provide security, but they're police forces. The council has no significant military power of its own. So they need us, Rostova said. They need a blunt instrument, Jax corrected her. The question is, what happens if we say no? Dr. Thorne pulled up economic data. Earth's interstellar trade is worth 2.3 trillion credits annually. Our technology sharing agreements have advanced our civilization by an estimated 2 centuries. The defense pacts protect not just Earth, but our 17 colony worlds. The numbers were staggering. A single vote in that chamber could send humanity back to the Dark Ages. Colonel Chen leaned forward. Sir, I've been analyzing their threat capabilities. Cutting off trade would hurt. Badly. But our core colonies are self-sufficient. We could survive. And a military threat? Rostova asked. Limited. The Council's member species are not warlike. They're merchants and philosophers. They would have to hire mercenaries to attack us directly. Admiral Thorne stood, walking to a large map of human space. The 17 colonies. Billions of lives. All of them now hanging in the balance. There's something else, he said. Kalen's intel suggests this isn't the first time. What happened to the species that came before us? Dr. Thorne's face was grim. He brought up a new file. A classified historical analysis. The Koran Empire, he said softly. They were the Council's primary enforcers for 8 centuries. They were powerful, respected, feared. He highlighted a date. 30 years ago. They were expelled from the Council after questioning in order to suppress an independence movement on a world rich in rare minerals. Their space is now listed as a quarantine zone. Hazardous. No contact in 30 years. Expelled for questioning orders, Rostova repeated. The pattern suggests, Eris continued, that the Council recruits a species with military capabilities. They use them for their dirty work for a few centuries. When that species develops a conscience, or becomes too powerful, they are removed. Replaced. Jax Thorne turned back to the group. The trap was clear. So were the new attack dogs. And when we eventually refuse an order, they'll find a way to get rid of us, too. That's my assessment, Admiral. And based on the timing, Colonel Chen added, I suspect they've already identified our replacement. The Draconian Confederacy. They've been expanding their fleet. The Admiral sat back down. Options. Rostova spoke first. Option 1. We comply. We become the Council's butchers. We keep our trade deals, but we lose our souls. Chen continued. Option 2. We refuse. We face economic warfare. Our civilization takes a massive hit, but we keep our principles. Dr. Thorne spoke slowly. Option 3. We withdraw from the Council entirely. We cut all ties and prepare for whatever comes next. What do our people think? Jax asked. Polls flashed on the screen. 73% opposed military action against refugees. 81% supported sending aid instead. The numbers dropped when the economic consequences were explained, but a majority still held firm. Admiral Thorne made his decision. Contact Ambassador Reyes. Tell her to present our counter-proposal. Sir, Chen asked. Humanitarian aid, the Admiral said. Food, medicine, refugee resettlement. We'll offer to solve the root cause of the problem, not just shoot the symptoms. Dr. Thorne frowned. Admiral, the Council will reject it out of hand. I know, Jax replied, his eyes hard. But we need to give them one last chance to do the right thing. On the record, he paused. When they refuse, it will make our choice very, very clear. General Rostova understood. You're planning for option 3, sir. I'm planning for everything, Jax said. But I want our people ready. Ready to choose between our prosperity and our principles. As the officers filed out, Dr. Eris Thorne lingered. Admiral, there's one more thing. My research on the Council's previous enforcers, the Korans, the Valdris before them. What is it, Doctor? None of them exist anymore. Not as independent civilizations. They're either listed as quarantine zones, or their historical records just stop. The Council doesn't just get rid of its tools, Admiral. He looked Jax directly in the eye. It melts them down for scrap. Kalen Reyes stood before the Council for the second time. The 72 hours were up. The chamber was full. They all expected her to deliver humanity's reluctant submission. She walked to the podium, her heart a cold, steady drum in her chest. High Elder Forlag, honored Council members, she began. Humanity has considered your request. We have also conducted our own investigation. She presented the findings. The refugee crisis, the starvation, the desperation. Therefore, she concluded, Earth proposes a comprehensive humanitarian solution. We will send medical ships, food supplies, and engineers to help resettle the displaced populations. We offer to solve this crisis with compassion, not with weapons. A wave of derisive laughter echoed through the chamber. The Soulkin delegate glowed with amusement. Resonance Prime chimed in a pattern that translated as naive. Forlag stood. Ambassador Reyes. The council has made its decision. We are not here to debate philosophy. We are here for your answer. Will humanity fulfill its duty or not? Kalen looked directly at the High Elder, at the ancient, corrupt power he represented. The council has indeed made its decision, she said, her voice dropping, becoming cold and sharp as a shard of ice. And so has humanity. The chamber fell silent. Effective immediately, the Terran Compact withdraws from the Galactic Council. The silence shattered. A dozen delegates began speaking at once. Forlag's scales rippled with fury. Resonance Prime flashed with angry light. Impossible. Forlag roared over the chaos. Species do not simply withdraw. There are procedures, negotiations, 1,000 years of protocol. Kalen waited for the noise to subside. Humanity is no longer bound by your protocols, she said calmly. She reached into her uniform, pulled out her diplomatic credentials, and placed them on the podium. A final, symbolic act. All human personnel will begin departure from council space within the hour. All trade agreements are terminated. All technology sharing is canceled. All defense pacts are void. You cannot, the Solkin delegate blazed. Your economy depends on us. Your colonies require our protection. We are aware of the costs, Kalen replied. We have deemed them acceptable. She turned to leave. This time, no one tried to stop her. The shock was too great. At the chamber door, she paused and turned back one last time. Oh, and one more thing, she said, a dangerous glint in her eye. The so-called rebel systems you wanted us to pacify. Kepler, Tidy, and Proxima. She smiled. A cold, human smile. We have just offered all 3.4 million of their inhabitants unconditional asylum in human space. Our evacuation fleet is already on its way. She walked out of the chamber and did not look back, leaving behind a storm of panic and rage. 6 months later, High Elder Forlag stood in an emergency council session, the third one that week. The chamber felt empty, broken. The problems had started small. A minor food shortage on Alaran, delays in medical shipments. Then, they cascaded. The agricultural crisis is critical, reported the Altarian ambassador, his blue skin pale. Human farming techniques were feeding 18 of our worlds. We cannot replicate their yields. Resonance Prime chimed in, its tones laced with panic. Economic models show a cascading failure. Human shipping was 31.4% more efficient. Its removal has caused supply chain collapses affecting 47 systems. The medical situation was worse. A plague on 7 Vorthian worlds, previously held in check by human-synthesized medicine, was now raging out of control. The numbers were devastating. Humans were just 3.2% of the Council's member population, but they had been responsible for nearly a quarter of its innovation and a third of its logistics. They had been the galaxy's workhorses, quietly doing the hard, dangerous, and unprofitable jobs no one else wanted. And the Council had never even noticed. 3 more species have opened direct diplomatic channels with Earth, another delegate reported. The news was getting worse. The Council's authority was crumbling. And the refugee situation? Forlag asked, dreading the answer. A holographic display showed the 3 systems. Kepler, Tidy, Proxima. They were empty. Every single refugee has been relocated to human space, the Altarian confirmed. The humans sent thousands of ships. They brought food, medicine, temporary habitats. The evacuation was completed in less than 4 months. Forlag was stunned. But why? Those people have no economic value. The Altarian looked down. They said it was the right thing to do. The chamber was silent. The concept was utterly alien to them. An aide rushed in and handed Forlag a datapad. He read it, and his scaled skin went completely white. What is it? Someone asked. Forlag's voice was a choked whisper. The humans, they've made contact with the Corans. They are alive. And they are sharing information. Detailed records of our enforcement policies. Military analysis of our weaknesses. The Council had not just lost a member. They had not just lost the foundation of their economy. They had created an enemy who knew all their secrets. And as Forlag stared at the empty seat where Kalen Reyes had once sat, he finally understood. They hadn't been dealing with a tool to be used. They had been dealing with the pillar that held up their entire, decaying civilization. And they had just kicked it out from under themselves. The humans had walked away in silence. And the Council was left to pay the cost.